Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Recently, my wife and I binge watched The Man in the High Castle, and it's a pretty fascinating show where it flips the script on what would have happened in World War II had the Germans won. And it's kind of a mind bender in that way. But I tell you that because there's this one scene or incident, I guess, because it's through multiple scenes, where there's a Japanese man who breaks a little mug. And when he breaks the mug, he takes time to repair that mug and put it back together. He uses some kind of resin to put it back together. And my wife Ashley was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Did you know that that's a normal thing in Japanese culture? And I didn't. And so I actually looked it up. I Google searched it, and they have this idea, this concept. It's called kitsuji. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing it perfectly, but essentially they believe that when this breaks, they would often repair it with gold, like a resin and gold, or silver. So they would actually take something of value and make the broken cup worth more. All of a sudden it would have more beauty than it did before. And you can look it up and see countless examples of where Japanese culture has said, this broken thing is not useless now. What if this broken actually tells a better story? And I think our faith works that way as well, although we don't like it to. Especially in Western theology, we like to think that like if something's broken, it's no longer good. And we throw it out. Right? Even now, we can, if I break my mug, I just jump on Amazon on my phone and it's a new one's here in 2 days. But that may shortchange our faith, our growth, and what God's trying to do inside of our lives. Nate Pyle, in his book, More Than You Can Handle, talks quite a bit about this. He talks about the mystery of the brokenness actually making us better, stronger, and more beautiful. He says that our circumstances shouldn't define whether or not we trust. He says that they should only inform it. So when something breaks, let's just say the cup breaks, that doesn't mean that, now it has no more use. It's we've got a broken cup. What are we going to do about it? How do we learn from this? How do we make this better? It should only inform our sadness. It should inform our doubt. Maybe it informs our prayers or how we engage more, not throw the entire thing out. See, in his book, Nate talks about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And in this story, they continue. They're about to be thrown into a furnace. And they say, our God will deliver us from this furnace. And so most of us believe this. When we have difficult times, we pray that God removes it. Jesus even does this in the garden. He says, God, take this cup from me. Not use this cup to make me better and stronger. And so Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are kind of walking around like, well, our God will take care of it. He's going to save us from it. And then all of a sudden, he doesn't. They still get thrown into the furnace. And that happens in our lives. We perpetuate a faith and a belief that God will just prevent us from being broken, from cracking. But what if we started to see it differently? That in those moments, we could make something more beautiful. See, Nate goes on into this story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He says, no, God rarely deals with pain and suffering through avoidance. It's not that he's going to have us not go through it. He's going to save us not from it, but through it. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego go into the fire, and God makes them better through the experience. He doesn't save them from the experience. See, this happens throughout all of creation. In the garden, God says it's good. He created this, he created that, it's good. It's not perfect. He doesn't say, the Bible does not say, and it was perfect. It says it was good. And then he realized that that Adam shouldn't be without a companion, and he creates a companion, and he says it's good. He doesn't say it's going to be perfect and it's going to be easy. Anytime that you add two people to a mix, it's going to be more difficult, more complicated. We're going to disagree. We might even hurt each other. But there's beauty in those difficulties. It's not easy, it's worth it. There's a profound mystery here. And Nate goes on to say, he kind of references 2 Corinthians 4:7. He says that in this verse, it shows us that in our brokenness, God shows up. That verse says that we now have this light shining in our hearts, but we ourselves are like fragile clay pots containing this great treasure. We can break. We will break. And when our faith says that we shouldn't, that God's going to save us from breaking, then we don't know how to handle it when we experience brokenness. Instead, this verse goes on to say this actually makes it clear. The fact that we're fragile and that we can be broken is when God, the great power of God, shows up. And then we realize the beauty doesn't come from us and our control over our lives. It comes from the repair, where God sees that brokenness and he puts us back together and makes us better through it, not saving us from it. And this shows up over and over and over throughout the Bible. In order to be first, we must first be last. In order to truly live, we must first die. In order to be truly whole, we must first be broken. This is the gospel. And so in our lives and in our faith, we should shift our perspective. I encourage you this week as you live it out to look for the places that you're broken and how that makes you stronger, better able to navigate difficulty. Instead of trying to avoid it, God rarely deals with pain and suffering by avoidance. It's through those things that we become better, that we become better equipped to navigate life and bring other people around us. And it's also through those places where God really shines, where he shows, he takes us as broken and makes us even better, something that he is so proud of. This week in your faith, lean on God to make you better as a result of your difficulties, not in the absence of them.